Good morning. Welcome to another edition with Coffee with Chaps. Today is going to be out of Psalm 5:3, and it's talking about in the morning. Do you have your coffee ready? I got my Bible right here, but I still need to get my coffee. It's brewing right now. So grab your cup of coffee and come right back. See you soon. Welcome back. Got my cup of coffee ready. Look, it actually says, I feel the need for speed, but let's slow down this morning already. Like I mentioned, Psalms 5:3, it states this, and it starts off with, in the morning. In the morning? What are you talking about? Yeah, it's the morning. It's actually the Wednesday after the time change. And I had to wait a little bit just to do this message because I actually just looked like I was a head floating around. So let's see what Psalms 5:3 states. In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. Expectantly, what does that word even mean? And this is what it means in the dictionary: with an excited feeling that something is about to happen, especially something good. So if we look at our prayer life, and we look at what goes on in the morning time, when we start looking, our first focus is on God, and then we wait expectantly for what God's going to do. Here's David in Psalm. David was faced with enemies who mocked him, saying that there was no hope for him. Maybe there's someone in our life today, or something along our path, our spiritual path, is saying like there's no hope for us. But here's David, he doesn't believe them. Do you believe them? Do you believe like, no, God's called me to do something and I just need to focus it on that? And that's what Psalms 5:3 is saying, is don't worry about what people are saying about us. But if God has told us to do something and God has laid it on our heart, then that's what we need to do. Instead, he called out to God for help. So here's David. He is calling God, like, God, I need you. Hear my voice. I'm laying my requests at your feet. I'm laying them. I'm requesting them. We may encounter those who say that there is no hope for us. We must not listen to them. Rather, we should follow David's example and call out to God for help. Remind ourselves that when we go through something, that we need to really focus that intention and lay it at God's feet, lay it at the cross, lay it and give a request out to Him. You know, when we're giving these prayers out, we also need to have a clear-cut goal, a definite request. When we ask God for general things like to bless us, He might not answer that because it's just general. God wants us to specify what we want in our life. But also too, when we specify that, we also need to know when we give that definite request to God, that prayer to God, that sometimes we might go through something. We might call it a struggle, but it might not be just such as a struggle, but maybe it's a maturity in our life that we need to get closer to God, and we need to have a maturity in our spiritual journey. Also, with these requests that we're giving out to God, you know, like in the morning in your prayer time, we need to maybe write down those requests. Most of us might have a request that we have a loved one that needs to be saved, that they need to have Jesus come into their life and say, I want to follow Jesus. I want to call Him Lord. Maybe that's our prayer today. You know, we have Easter coming in a few weeks. It's like almost the Super Bowl for some of the churches, because here's Easter. This is where Christ was raised from the dead. You know, He died on the cross for us. But maybe that's our Some of our request is to lead a family member, a loved one, a friend to the cross and say, this is what Jesus has done in my life. Maybe that's your request. Most of it has a request to be healed of a sickness, maybe a direction in life. Maybe you want to have more wisdom of an understanding of a situation that's going on in your life. But I tell you, maybe some of those requests, we need to write it down every day. And then just like how in Psalms 5:3 states, in the morning, Lord, hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my request down to you. So when you write those down, and we actually reflect on it and say, God, I want this in my life. I want, God, I'm laying this down. God, I don't know what I'm going through right now, but there's something going on and I'm struggling with something. And God, I need a clear direction of what needs to happen. Maybe you're going through a struggle in life. You may need to ask God to come into that struggle instead of you asking God to get you out of the struggle. Because there's sometimes many victory is won in that struggle. And that's where the victory is won. Just look at, Psalms 23 where he says that he walks through the valley of shadow of death. He's walking with us. He wants to go with us in those valleys. So sometimes we need to ask God, come here, come into my struggle. Guide me. No matter what we do, we need to continue to lay our request at God's feet, at the cross, and wait with excitement because God is going to do something in the midst of that. We need to wait and see what the Lord's going to do in our lives when we make these requests to God, because the very last word of 5:3 says expectantly. Expectantly, we have to be excited because God's going to do something. Hey, thank you for watching this other edition with Coffee with Chaps. See you next week. Thank you.